everybody, and welcome to Discipleship Debrief for today. And glad you could join us. And we are going to be talking about uh, kind of a buzzword today is community. And Jesus, being our example, wanted discipleship to happen in community. He, we talked last week about how he uh, showed John who he was and that John would have to suffer for being a disciple. And in Matthew chapter 4, it tells us, because we know the Bible is not written chronologically, but in Matthew 4, 12 and 13a, and I know my slide says 2, but it should be a 12 there. Now, when Jesus had heard that John was cast into prison, he departed into Galilee. Leaving Nazareth, he came down and dwelt in Capernaum, which is upon the seacoast. So it is there that he does most of his ministry. In fact, in later on in that chapter, it says, "And Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom and healing all manner of sickness and all manner of disease among the people." So it was in that community that he taught. Now, to get kind of an idea of how they lived, that was a rural area. Jesus didn't teach in Jerusalem. He went to Jerusalem some, but most of his ministry was in a rural area in Capernaum. However, Capernaum was turning out some of the most intelligent rabbis and teachers of its day. So that was the Bible Belt. Capernaum was the Bible Belt. And they all lived communally. They lived in Beth Abs, as we've talked about before, which was father's house. It was the patriarch, his wife, his kids, and then their extended family, grandparents, aunts, uncles. And they lived in these small, uh, multi-level homes, and then there were big courtyards. And so the courtyards um, would be places where people would be out talking and sharing together. Also, um, in that big area, in those villages, they were all together. They all lived communally. They all were out and talking, and so it was in those confines that Jesus taught there. He wanted them to follow the rabbi teaching and his teaching, and in Galilee and Capernaum, they had the highest concentration of Jewish people living there, and so these were very devout Jews, and so it was there where Jesus comes in and teaches the kingdom of God, which turns a lot of their religious things on its ear, and so it is there and in that community. And so Jesus calls disciples to be in community with one another. We live in a Western society that's very individual, um, but the church should be communal or community. And so that is one call for discipleship, whether we're in a large church or a small church, not just gathering together on Sunday, but doing life together. And so not just Sunday morning church, but Bible studies and even getting together for other events and other things. That is what Jesus wants disciples to be, to live in community. And that's not always easy today in this busy time that we live in. But if we're serious about discipleship, we will carve those things out. And and maybe there's not as many opportunities in your church or that you would like to take a part of, but maybe suggest those things. I know for our church here in Chavies, we're endeavoring to create more discipleship opportunities. Um, and so we're thankful for that. And so today's lesson is basically be around other believers, like minded people, live in community. And until next time, love God, love each other, and follow Him in your community. God bless you.